Alright, welcome back to the channel, everybody. It's Matty here from Chilled TCG. Today we're going to be looking at the 10 best cards from the upcoming set Vivid Voltage, set to release here in just about a week. Disclaimer, I made the panels and graphics in this video before the English translation images for the cards released, so I did the translations for you, no worries. Just remembered that I did make these graphics before those images got released. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and let's get right into it. Before we get into it, I want to give a big thanks to all of the people in the community who helped me rank all of these individual cards from Vivid Voltage. What I did was I picked my top 10 cards that I thought were the best, and then I asked everybody in the community on Twitter, on Discord, everywhere, to rank these cards from 1 to 10, and then I took the averages of all the rankings that everybody gave and came up with like an overall ranking for each card. And then in this video, we're going to go through those cards from the lowest ranking cards from the community to the highest ranking cards in the community. So if you're on this list, big shout out to you. Thank you so much for all your help. But with that being said, let's get right into it. All right, starting off on our list here, we have the supporter Leon. So Leon, definitely one of the better supporters in this upcoming set, Vivid Voltage. But, let's give it a read. So during this turn, all of your Pokemon's attacks deal 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Now, back in the day, we might have a card like this that's actually like an item, like a tool card. But now, in this new era of Pokemon cards, we see it as a supporter card, which definitely brings down the value, I think, of Leon just a little bit. The community ranked this card a 5.1 out of 10, so definitely overall like an average rating. But definitely seems to be the best supporter in this set. We don't have too many great supporters. Leon, it does pair well with that new Charizard card that's coming out in Vivid Voltage, definitely meant to go together. But other than that, Leon is a card that you can really throw in any deck as pretty much sort of like a good math fixer. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of, scenarios where doing 30 more damage, even maybe on top of like a Zigzagoon Ping or a Vitality Band will definitely get the job done. I know specifically, like, you could run this in ADP Zacian. It's going to be doing like 260 with the boost Zacian is, plus the, the 30 from Leon, and then you could even, I guess, run Zigzagoons or whatnot, potentially get some one-hit KOs on some VMAX Pokemon, but it doesn't really seem to be like that crazy of a card. I guess you could run it in Eternatus as well, really any deck that's doing big damage to try to get those one-hit KOs. But for the most part, I don't think it's going to see a tremendous amount of play. It might be like a 1 of or a 2 of in a lot of decks in the future. But with a community rating of 5.1, it comes in at our number 10 spot. Coming in at the 7th spot on our list, we have the new Amazing Rare Zacian. Very cool typing of a card for being a Psychic type card. Also, the new Amazing Rares are just very cool in general. Beautiful looking card. It's got 110 HP, retreat cost of 2. It's got 2 attacks here. So the first one, Metal Armament, I think is how you say it, for 1 colorless. Attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to this Pokemon. Probably won't, really be seen a whole lot. It's a basic Pokemon, so you can get it off turn 1. But with 110 HP, it's not really something that you want to keep in your active spot for fear of it getting knocked out easily. That second attack, though, for a Grass, a Psychic, and a Metal, has Amazing Sword. So if your opponent has a Pokemon VMAX in play, this attack does 150 more damage on top of that 150 damage that it just does as its base damage. So 300 damage potentially on VMAX Pokemon is very, very good in general. You can, typically, I personally think that this card will really only see play if paired up against or paired with ADP Tag Team there. ADP Tag Team definitely works well with this Zacian Amazing Rare. Not only can ADP give this the Zacian an extra 30 damage with the GX attack boost, but after you get that the ultimate Ray attack off, you can just search your deck for those 3 different energy and attach them all to the Zacian just right there in one turn, and then next turn, if you want, you can switch into the Zacian, potentially do 330 damage, or, you slap a Vitality Band on it, and you're doing 340, potentially one-shotting even the biggest Pokemon right now in the game, and as a single-prize Pokemon, that's definitely pretty impressive. The community only ranked this card a 5.7. They thought that, it probably wouldn't be entirely necessary to run this card in ADP Zacian, but, in my eyes, I think that it could be a really good one-off in a deck if you're in a pretty tough position. And maybe if you have like a boss's orders in hand, you can guarantee that sort of like turn 3 or turn 2 KO on like an Eternatus VMAX or any other VMAX that might be on your opponent's board. So it definitely doesn't seem that bad. I think you could possibly run this with Turbo Patch. Again, it would work, I guess. You just would need to flip heads. And I think Vitality Band would be really good as well with this card. Definitely really impressive in terms of its attack potential, but all these amazing rare Pokemon seem pretty clunky. Spoiler alert, this is our first of two amazing rare cards that are going to be on this list, and this one ended up just falling a little bit short of the other amazing rare card. But that's going to do it for our 7th spot on the list. Our next card is going to be the new Electrode, Stage 1 Pokemon. It's got 90 HP, retreat cost of 1, which I think is pretty standard for Electrode. It's supposed to be a very fast Pokemon. It's got that attack Lightning Ball for 2 Lightning and a colorless, does 100 damage. But this Pokemon is specifically going to be run for that ability. Buzz Zap Generator, very cool name. And it reads, once during your turn, if this Pokemon is on your bench, you may search your deck for up to 2 electric energy and attach them to your electric Pokemon in any way that you would like. Then you shuffle your deck, and if you attached any energy this way, this Pokemon is knocked out. Now, this means that, if you use this ability, it's going to get knocked out, and your opponent will take a prize card, which is different from, the Tapu Koko Prism Star that we see, which has a similar ability, although that takes it from your discard pile. Definitely similar Pokemon, but I think that Electrode definitely has a really cool ability, and you can play this right now with Tapu Koko Prism Star and potentially get 4 energies on the board just by, using the abilities of these 2 Pokemon. But the fact that your opponent is taking a prize card and the fact that this is a Stage 1 Pokemon definitely makes it, I think, a little bit worse than Tapu Koko Prism Star, even though you're taking it from your deck and not your discard pile. Electro definitely, might see a lot of play, might see a little bit of play. I'm not exactly sure, but it definitely isn't a bad Pokemon at all. The community ranked it a 5.5. Definitely kind of ranked it a bit low, I think, because we have things like Tapu Koko Prism Star, which definitely seem a bit better at first glance. But this card is coming out alongside the new Pikachu VMAX in Vivid Voltage, which on its own doesn't really seem like a great card. But these 2 cards are definitely sort of meant to be played together, I think. The fact that they're coming out together. But this card also might be really good in like a Turbo Bolton deck, or even just in Pikarum in general. I think that it definitely has place right now in this meta. In a lot of these electric decks. Will it be fantastic? I don't know. Will people end up running it later in this set's life cycle? Now, again, I'm not sure. But Electro definitely doesn't seem like a bad card, and it's taking the number 9 spot on our list. Next up, we have the item tool card, Telephotoscope. Now, I don't know if this is the actual name for the card. I haven't actually checked since the English translations came out. It might be different in the actual English card, but, either way, it reads, attacks of the Pokemon that this card is attached to deal 30 more damage to your opponent's benched Pokemon GX and Pokemon V. Very interesting card. Damage spread has definitely become, very popular right now in the standard format with all these new cards. We have cards like, the new Darmanitan VMAX, which is coming out here in Vivid Voltage. Alongside this card, it also we also have things like Inteleon VMAX, which came out a few sets ago, and we have Cramorant V, which came out in the base set, which is still seeing a lot of play. I think all 3 of these cards are going to benefit quite a bit from having Telephotoscope. I think specifically cards like Cramorant might be really good with this. Cramorant, of course, does 160 to any Pokemon on your opponent's board, but you have to discard those 3 energy afterwards. It's not a big deal. People just run Welder, set it up with 1 turn, but that 160 can quickly turn to 190, and you can pair it up with Zigzagoons, just to get those extra damage pings out. And potentially, with Cramorant and Telephotoscope, you could just start, picking off all of those Pokemon V that might be on your opponent's bench or in the active spot, although the active spot, it won't boost the damage. But, again, Boss's Orders is a thing. Pokemon Catchers is a thing. And Cramorant paired up with Telephotoscope could potentially get some very cheeky one-hit KOs on your opponent's bench Pokemon. Even with things like, Crobat, right, or Dedenne, and even like Eldegoss, there's a lot of Pokemon V cards that are around 200, 210 HP. So with the Zigzagoons, you can also get one-hit KOs on those as well. So definitely, pretty decent tactic. I think it's going to be a decent deck. And things like Inteleon and Darmanitan, which do 30 to the entire bench or 60 to one bench Pokemon, turning that to 60 or to 90 for those 2 respective cards is definitely pretty good as well. Telephotoscope, the community ranked it A6. It doesn't seem to be an absolutely phenomenal card. It doesn't seem to really break the game in any way. But I think that it's going to be very solid in some of these decks. Even though these decks probably won't be top tier decks, it's going to make them a little bit better. And for that reason, I think Telephotoscope is definitely a good card. So that's going to be our number 6 spot on the list. At the 5th spot on our list, we have our first VMAX Pokemon, my favorite card in this set personally. It's Orbeetle VMAX. The art on this thing is absolutely fantastic. Super cool to see Orbeetle Gigantamax getting a card here. It's got 310 HP, so not fantastic. It's got a retreat cost of 1, which is really good. And it's got that first attack there, first and foremost. Gmax Wave, so for a grass and a colorless, it does 50 more damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. But that's 50 plus 50 more, which is actually not that bad. The majority of Pokemon right now that you're going to be playing against have, I think, around like 3, maybe 4 energy attached to it. And if that's the case, you're doing 150 damage or 250 depending on, or 200 damage or 250 depending on how many energy are on your opponent's Pokemon. I know there's things in the format right now that only take 2 energy, like Eternatus VMAX or Dragapult, things like that. But even if that's the case, you're doing 150 damage for 2 energy, definitely not that bad, considering that if we look at that ability Laser Beam, so once during your turn, if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, you can put 1 damage counter on all of your opponent's Pokemon. That means the entire bench. Now, one thing I really want people to understand, which is why I have things like Scoop Up Net here, is that you can use the ability of 2 different Orbeetle VMAX in 1 turn. They just need to be switched in, right? So if you have like your bench full of like 2 or 3 Orbeetle VMAXs, and you have plenty of things like Birdkeeper or Switch or Scoop Up Net, and you can run this thing with the Jirachi engine, right, to accelerate all those cards into your hand. You can potentially get like 2 or 3 pings off 1 turn, while hitting for that 150 to 200, maybe 250 damage. Which is honestly very good. It can get that 2-hit KO on pretty much anything right now in the format, as well as being able to run maybe Zigzagoons to also fix off that damage. You could even run things like Leon. You could do plenty of stuff right now with Orbeetle VMAX, and I think it's going to be an actually very impressive card. Typically, people kind of tend to dismiss grass Pokemon, especially VMAXs, since they're 3 prizers, because they are weak to Fire-type Pokemon. But if you really think about it, Fire-type Pokemon right now in the format, require a large amount of energy to do big damage. And not to mention that Orbeetle does have a colorless energy in its attack cost, which means that you can easily incorporate a weakness guard energy into this thing without really having any downsides, right? It takes a colorless energy, so attaching a weakness guard energy should be easy peasy. The community ranked this as 6.6. They were pretty, I think people are sleeping on Orbeetle VMAX, but I think it's going to be really good. You could also, again, run Vitality Band here just to fix the damage up, fix that math just a little bit. But, just think about it. Things like Centiskorch VMAX, which like to have, 6 or 7 energy on, if it's got 7 energy onto it, or even 6, then you have, more than enough damage to 1-hit KO that Centiskorch VMAX, which is honestly super, super cool. So if your Jirachi gets knocked out or something by that Centiskorch, or if, you're just able to switch in after that Centiskorch gets, filled up with energy, then you can just come in, hit him with a Laser Beam and then hit him with Gmax Wave and just get a 1-hit KO on a Centiskorch VMAX or even a Charizard VMAX. So definitely seems to be a very good card, a card that I'm personally really excited to play. So Orbeetle is going to be our number 5th spot on the list, but just know that it is my personal favorite card. Our next card is going to be an interesting one. We have Talonflame V. This is a Fire-type V Pokemon. It's got 190 HP with a free retreat cost, which is very good. It's got that second attack, Crimson Wings, for 2 fire energy and a colorless. Discard an energy from this Pokemon, do 160 damage. Not terrible, not great. But the big hype around this card, and the reason why I think it got ranked so high by the community, is that first attack, Fast Flight. Sorry, I might have a problem saying that, but it reads that if you go first, you can use this attack on your first turn, which is pretty cool, and you can discard your hand and draw 6 cards. Now, right now in Fire decks, people really like to start most of the time with things like Volcanion, maybe Jirachi, but Talonflame here seems to be a pretty decent starting Pokemon in a lot of these decks. Of course, in Fire decks, you want to go second to have access to that Volcanion and Welder in that same turn going first. But a lot of times, especially if you're doing a best of 3, you're definitely going to be going first at least, one of these games. So if you think about it, Talonflame V seems to be probably our best option going first, or at least one of our best options going first right now. For a lot of these Fire decks, that Fast Flight attack is really good since it's your first turn, and you can go first. You can use this attack if you're going first and discard your entire hand while drawing 6 cards. Definitely not bad at all. I think this card is going to see a lot of play in things like Blacephalon specifically. Blacephalon really likes to get those fire energy cards discarded early in the game so we can just sort of bring them back with fire crystals and load up their hand with fire energies to get those big hit KOs. So I think that personally it's going to be really good in Blacephalon. It's probably going to be one of the best starting options for Blacephalon that you can have, though I think a lot of people are probably still going to prefer to start the game with Jirachi, but if you don't have Jirachi, I guess Talonflame is going to be a really good option. Turbo Patch, I'm not even sure why I put that in there, but I guess that you could put this in other fire decks, and just sort of discard your hand at the start of the game, discarding those fire energies, and then just bring them back with Turbo Patch, I guess, was the idea that I had. And then I guess, you're going to run this in Welder decks, so that's why Welder's up there. Again, I don't really see this seeing too much play in decks other than Blacephalon, and I'm not even sure that it's going to be phenomenal in Blacephalon decks in general, but, the community seems pretty warm on this card, ranking it a 6.7 above Orbeetle, which personally I think is crazy, but anyway, Talonflame, I might be wrong. It might end up being a phenomenal card. It's taking our next spot on the list. It does resist fighting, which is one thing to note. Colossal's coming up in this set as well, but yeah, I mean, not much I can really say about Talonflame there. I think the free retreat cost is going to be really good with a Pokemon that you want to start your game with, right? Just being able to retreat out for free after you get that fast flight off turn 1. But again, you're at risk of sort of getting knocked out on that first turn, right, since you only have 190 HP. But anyway, that's Talonflame V, our next spot on the list. Yeah. At number 4 on our list, we have the bad Colossus V Max. Definitely the new sort of tanky card that's coming out here in Vivid Voltage. It's definitely one of the best fighting type cards or attacking cards that we're going to have right now in the format. I think it's probably the only fighting type or rock fighting type VMAX card that's going to be seeing play here. It's got 330 HP, retreat cost of 4, got 2 attacks there, the first one being Volcanic Ball. So for 1 fighting energy, discard the top card of your deck. If that card was an energy, this attack does 90 more damage, and attach that energy to this Pokemon, and that's 40 plus 90 if it's the top card in your deck. So of course, Oranguru is going to pair up really well with this card, much like Torkoal, and also kind of has that similar ability to Scorch where you can sort of put it onto this Pokemon afterwards, so the ability to set itself up with that 1 energy attack definitely isn't bad. That second attack, though, for 3 fighting and a colorless, G-Max Boulder, 240 damage, 240 for 4 energy, nothing fantastic, although, since you can accelerate energy to this card, using that first attack definitely makes that second attack a little bit more viable, but other than that, we don't really have any great acceleration to put energies onto Colossal. We do have the Colossal from Darkness Ablaze, or was it Rebel Clash? I'm not sure. It's the one that accelerates energy, so we could use that as well, but having a stage 2 VMAX with a stage 3 basic, or sorry, a stage 1 VMAX with a stage 2 single prize Pokemon is definitely a bit clunky, I think, in terms of, sort of energy acceleration. This card does have access to that new special fighting energy, which I believe reduces damage done to it by 20 for each energy attached, so that's definitely going to be really good to give this card a bit more bulk. The community ranked this card a 7.1, so they were pretty high on it. I think that this card is going to do really well against things like Eternatus VMAX, and it's also going to do really well specifically on like Pikarom decks. I think Pikarom is going to definitely get bodied by Colossal VMAX, and I think that's good right now for the format, and I think that since those are 2 super popular decks right now in our standard format, that Colossal is going to be a really good card. I don't think specifically like in a vacuum it's a fantastic card, but I think putting this card right now into the current meta, it definitely is going to see a lot of play and a decent amount of success. Personally, I think my favorite way of playing this deck is going to be with Hyper Potion. That first attack only takes 1 energy, so that's just 1 attachment and attack. If you have an Oranguru on your bench, then you can consistently hit for 130 for 1 energy, which is very good on a very tanky, bulky Pokemon like this. But, with Hyper Potion, after you use that first attack, you attach an energy from your discard pile, or the one that you just discarded, to Colossal. That means he's got 2 energy onto him. Hyper Potion, of course, I believe you just discard those 2 energy from it and heal 120. So definitely can be really good. You can just sort of use that turn after turn while still being able to attack, because it only takes 1 energy, right? You just attach 1, attach another one with the attack, and then you Hyper Potion next turn, healing for 120. You can also use things like Malolana to heal even more. Especially since it also gives you switching option, and this Pokemon has a retreat cost of 4. Definitely seems really viable. I think the Malalana Hyper Potion, inclusions variant of this deck is going to be my favorite way to play it. I don't believe that second attack is entirely necessary. Nothing's probably going to be one-shotting you like ever when you're playing Colossal VMAX, so I don't really think you need to focus on one-shotting things like Pikarom or Eternatus. Plus, anyway, that that first attack is going to one-shot Pikarom anyway, so again, I think that that's going to be the best way to play this card. Again, the community ranked it a 7.1, so definitely it's going to be pretty solid. I think that that's a pretty accurate ranking for Colossal. It's weak to grass, doesn't really seem to be a big problem right now. Orbeetle is coming out, and Orbeetle could give this thing some issues. But other than that, we don't really see too many grass-type decks right now in the standard format. It doesn't resist anything, which is kind of strange for a deck like this or a card like this, which is supposed to be a tanky card, but either way, that's Colossal VMAX. It's coming in at our number 4th spot on the list, and a card that personally I think is going to be really cool. Our 3rd spot on the list is actually going to be Aegis/V, or Aegis/V, however you say it. I'm not entirely sure. Aegis/V's got 210 HP, retreat cost of 3. It's got 2 attacks there, so the first one just being Slash, 2 energy, 50 damage. Entirely stupid. Literally, I don't even know why Pokemon would put this attack on this Pokemon. I guess if it was 1 energy, like if it was 1 colorless, 50 damage, that'd actually be pretty good. But I don't really believe you're ever going to be using Slash if you don't literally need to be using it, right? If it's your only option. But this Pokemon came in at a 7.4 rating from our community, and I think that's mainly entirely because of that second attack, Sonic Edge, for 2 metal energy and a colorless. This attack's damage isn't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. Now you need to understand, right, that right now we have all of those cards with immunities right now that are really popular in our format. Things like Decidueye, things like Altaria, and Obstagoon. Aegislash doesn't care at all about those Pokemon, no matter what ability or any sort of effects that are on your opponent's Pokemon. Like any of those Pokemon that I just listed, you're just going to do 130 damage, no matter what the case is, which I think is going to be absolutely fantastic. And I think that this card is going to see a lot of play in things like ADP and Luke Metal, maybe just as a one-off, to pretty much guarantee the win over those cards, over those deck archetypes that otherwise, you might be struggling a lot with. Personally, I think Aegis/V is a little bit too good. I think those decks that I just listed are going to take a huge hit when Vivid Voltage comes out. If people are running this card here, the Decidueye Goons and Altaria decks really just don't have any hope of beating these decks if they're running Aegislash. Luke Metal specifically, I think is going to really help a lot. ADP definitely it'll help a lot as well. Boosting that up to 160 damage while getting the being able to hit through those abilities is, of course, absolutely fantastic. Vivid Voltage actually has an Aegis/VMAX, which is a pretty good card in its own right. And I think that, just an Aegis/VMAX deck is going to be good too. So, of course, you're going to be running Aegis/V with it as well. Those really seem like the only 3 deck archetypes that are going to see play, or that Aegislash will see play in. Either way, I think Aegis/V is going to be a really good card. It's going to make some of the best decks in the format even better, and it's going to make those those immunity decks that I spoke about earlier. It's gonna make it real tough for them to get any wins, especially in like a tournament format where they're probably going to be running into a lot of Luke Metals and ADPs. So Aegis/V, man, really cool card. So I'm actually surprised that Pokemon put a card like this in the in the format, especially a metal type card that just has a lot of great toolkits as well. It has things like Metal Saucer. And Metal Goggles, just a lot of really crazy cards that you can play in these decks, and I think Aegislash is going to see a whole lot of play. And our second to last Pokemon on this list, the second highest ranked Pokemon, is the Amazing Rare Jirachi. Now, Amazing Rare Jirachi, it's only got 70 HP. It's got a retreat cost of 1. Of course, weak to fire. It's got that attack Amazing Star, so you actually, for a Psychic, a Fighting type, and a Metal Energy, you search your deck for 7 basic energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon in any way that you'd like, and then you shuffle your deck. That's actually an incredible attack, though it's going to be pretty difficult to get that attack off. But the main reason why this card got ranked so high, and the main reason why I think this card is going to be so good in a lot of decks, is that ability there, Dream Oracle. So once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in your active spot, you may look at the top 2 cards of your deck and then add one of those cards to your hand and return the other one to the top of your deck. Now, this card can be paired with Oranguru, I didn't put Oranguru down below, but you can pair this card up with Oranguru and potentially just get 2 of the cards on your deck every turn, which is absolutely phenomenal. Also, you have the ability to just put that card on the top of your deck, the one that you don't pick. So it also kind of has the same sort of effect as Oranguru, where you can run this card with things like Colossal, put an energy on the top of your deck, or things like Torkoal, put that energy on the top of your deck, and get that extra damage off when you attack with Colossal. And this is an ability, and it doesn't put Jirachi asleep like the Jirachi from Team Up does, which means that you don't need Scoop Up Net. You can put U-turn board on this thing and just sort of free retreat out whenever you would like after you use that ability. It's going to be definitely really strong, an absolutely phenomenal ability. Looking at the attack, though, so Amazing Star, I don't think people are going to run this Pokemon for its attack really ever, but if you were to do that, I think you could, I guess, run this in ADP, and instead of doing the Ultimate Ray with ADP and putting 3 energy onto Zacian, on the Zacian Amazing Rare, you could use the Ultimate Ray on ADP, put the 3 energy on Jirachi, then attack with Jirachi and put the 7 energy onto 2 Zacians. It seems pretty awkward. Seems like a really clunky 2-step combo there, but potentially, setting up 7 energy in 1 turn could be absolutely crazy. But again, it seems pretty risky and seems pretty difficult to pull off. But of course, I guess that's really the only deck specifically where I could see people wanting to use this Jirachi's attack. But again, I don't think people are going to be running Jirachi before the attack. They're going to be running it for the ability, Dream Oracle, and I think that it's going to be, a very popular card. Definitely going to see play in a lot of decks right now in the format. The community ranked this in 8.8. There's actually one card in this set that people ranked above it. Jirachi, doesn't really seem to have too many downsides. But again, I think some people are still going to prefer to run the Jirachi from Team Up. I think that Amazing Rare Jirachi is definitely one of the best cards right now in the set. Going to see a whole lot of play. Definitely a really cool card. Looks really good. But again, you got to be kind of scared having that 70 HP. Again, there's a lot of damage spread right now in the format. Things like Inteleon could definitely body this thing. Things like Dragapult. So you definitely got to be careful. But, either way, I think Jirachi is going to see a whole lot of play. I think it's a phenomenal card. And it's taking our number 2 spot on this list. And last but not least, the community actually ranked Metal Coating Energy as our highest rating card here, coming up in Vivid Voltage. Now, the community rating was a 9.4, and I think people ranked this card really high because it really just doesn't have any downsides. It's going to be included in pretty much any metal deck in general. I think it's just absolutely phenomenal. It reads that this metal Pokemon that this card is attached to has no weakness. Now, that is absolutely crazy. Before we had things like Metal Frying Pan, which was a tool card that people were running, in Luke Metal, and even in like ADP sometimes to give those Zacians, no weakness. Fire Pokemon are of course really popular right now in the format. Give ADP Zacian and Luke Metal definitely a really hard time. Luke Metal right now is running weakness guard energies, but now it doesn't have to attach an extra colorless energy to things like Zacian. It can just attach this metal coating energy, and I think that it's specifically going to make Luke Metal absolutely ridiculous right now in this format. I think paired up with that new Aegis V and this metal coating energy, Luke Metal might make a run as one of the best decks right now in the format. As well as sort of things like Pikarom right now that are obviously seeing an incredible amount of success, are going to, see a little bit less success with things like Colossal being entered into the format. So I think Luke Metal has a chance to be our best deck right now after Vivid Voltage comes out, at least for a little bit. But Metal Coating Energy, yeah, man, I mean, it has no downsides, of course. It's just going to see a ridiculous amount of play, and it's going to make some really great decks even better. Maybe even pushing them to top tier, like I said. So the community ranked this thing at 9.4, and I completely agree. I think this card is absolutely busted. Again, it's probably going to see play with things like Luke Metal, things like Zacian, ADP Zacian, but I could also see play in the new Aegis VMAX deck, or even just things like random things too, like Copper or Scizor VMAX, just other metal decks that maybe just weren't that great because they did get absolutely bodied by fire type Pokemon. Now, they don't really have they don't really have to be so scared of those fire type decks. One thing to mention though, this card seems like it's going to absolutely break Luke Metal, but we have plenty of ways to discard energy from your opponent's Pokemon. Of course, we see Crushing Hammers absolutely dominating the format right now, but we have things like Giratina, and even things like the Clefable from, I believe it was Darkness Ablaze or Rebel Clash maybe. But either way, I think Coating Energy is going to see a lot of play, and I think that it's it's gonna be phenomenal. There's not a whole lot I can say about this energy card, but it's gonna change a lot of decks for the better. I don't know if it'll change the format for the better, but Luke Metal is definitely going to be incredibly incredibly safe to play, especially with Aegis Slash and this Metal Coating Energy. It's going to have an even better matchup against things like like Centiskorch or Cinderace or Charizard, or really any other, or Blounce, any other fire deck right now in the format, as well as having really good matchups against Decigoons and Altaria. So watch out for Luke Metal, watch out for ADP. Those decks are going to get even better with Metal Coating Energy. And that's really all I have to say about it. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for our top 10 cards from Vivid Voltage. Let me know if you're excited for the set coming out here in just about a week. I know a lot of people sort of seem to be downplaying Vivid Voltage, and I think that's because there doesn't really seem to be any game-breaking cards in this set like we had in the previous set. Things like Eternatus VMAX, Centiskorch were obviously really good in Darkness Ablaze, and of course we had things like Dragapult and Boss's Orders that came out in Rebel Clash. This set doesn't really seem to have any absolutely incredible card that comes out in this set, but there's plenty of really good cards that are coming out, and definitely a lot of cards that are going to see play. We saw that here in this video. Some takeaways to note, how is Vivid Voltage going to impact the set overall, or impact the meta overall? I think things like Eternatus, like Pikoram, are going to take a pretty sizable hit with Colossal VMAX coming into the format, and I think, of course, decks like Luke Metal and ADP are going to get boosted here, get made a little bit better with the inclusion of Metal Coating Energy and Aegis V. And also, I think that a lot of other archetypes are going to pop up right now in the format, things like Orbeetle, and a bunch of other decks that, I can't really even assume are going to be coming, most likely will come with the inclusion of some other really cool cards right now in the format, things like the Jirachi Amazing Rare. Again, I want to give a huge thanks and a big shout out to everybody who helped rank all of these cards that I did in this video. Again, the community rankings were done by, all the people in the community, all the people from, the Facebook pages, the Discord, the Twitter. Just a lot of people gave their input on these cards, and it really helped me out a lot to make this video. Lastly, I want to encourage everybody to play in our weekly PTCGO tournament series, the Chill series. Our 9th installment of the tournament is coming this coming Wednesday, and you can find that on the play.limitless.com webpage. The Chill series, it's a fantastic tournament. Definitely chill, pretty low key. But last tournament we had just about 100 people play, and our prize pool was 200 Darkness Ablaze packs. So if you haven't played yet, definitely go check it out. Registration is now open, and I'll put a link to that below. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.